to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Hello, everyone.
So we're gonna approve the August 1st meeting notes. Dan had one correction under HUB or engineering should be HEB engineering throughout.
It's an E instead of a U.
I didn't see anything. Sadie, can you hear? Did you find anything? You're frozen.
I didn't, no, I didn't see any corrections.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Motion to approve.
I would put a motion into approve minutes based on the corrections of HEB engineering.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Mhm. Thank you.
So we may have a temporary solution for Gristmill Hill Bridge. You want to go into that, Jack, or?
Sure, after the hearing to close it, we did immediately go back on the phone with DOT, see if they could help us. We had a nice conversation with them about funding. We also had an opportunity to actually find a temporary bridge. And it's available for us to rent, install and rent. And so the engineers are looking at the specifications of that. At the moment, I see no reason why it won't work. What we do is we'll put this temporary bridge just down over the existing bridge while the design, the permitting, all that stuff
For
happens.
the actual replacement.
And that will continue, that'll take the load off of the weak decking and allow the bridge to remain open at least one lane of traffic. So we just have to work through a few engineering details in terms of logistics to install it. And I think we'll be good. We'll pay $18,000 to have this bridge installed, and we'll be renting it for $1,000 a month. And I have money provided by the state of New Hampshire to do so.
Nice.
Any issues with the snowplows?
No, it's the same type of bridge that Enfield used, and they plowed that, and we plowed it with a 1 ton and a wing. So we just have to build a ramp on either end.
Kind of skirted on either end.
Yeah.
Brand is.
It's Mike Hanson's,
Oh, so it's an 80,
same thing you got.
those are, the one we had was 14-foot wide deck, 50
Yeah.
foot long. It's 140,000 GVW rated bridge. so
Yeah, he says it's
full
low
EQ rating.
Yeah, so we can lift the signs and we just gotta build the ramp that ends up and he'll lock
Do
it
you have
in.
enough room to build up the ends? Because I mean, you're pretty tight on, well, because of the corner and then.
Yeah,
on the
I
far
mean,
side.
we'll obviously put some sign up that say 1 lane bridge, so everybody knows it's changed and we'll just reduce the speed up through there to help.
Yeah.
But
It's one lane now.
yeah, essentially it's 1 lane now. But yeah, so our deck is like 46 feet, that
Yeah.
bridge, the overlay will be 50 feet.
So 10 feet or
So-
5 feet on each end. And
Yes.
then the skirting.
Yeah, so it might be fairly steep, but it's gonna.
No, we should have enough room to space it right out, depending on which way he lays it over there, but
Okay.
we'll maximize everything.
Okay.
And, you know, everybody
Does he
should,
have to actually extend it out the extra 10 feet or can he shorten? it?
yeah, well,
Those-
no, it's only, so our bridge decking is 46.
Yeah.
The portable bridge is 50 foot,
So it's 2 feet.
Oh,
so we got about 2 feet. So we're not gonna be way out into the right of ways.
does that also solve fires? using
Fire
the-
trucks could go over that as well. Yeah, it'll,
Certainly have the weight.
you can put 50 ton over it, no problem.
Yeah, it sounds more stout. than the
Yeah,
original
and we'll
bridge.
plow it. I mean, obviously not with a wing down, we'll plow it.
Sure,
with-
but we figure out how to
Yeah.
get snow off it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a lot
What's
better
the
than the
time?
alternative.
Any idea on timing on that? Jack?
That bridge that we would rent is out and for a month. And then it'll be ours until we don't need it anymore.
And then how long to install it and then shut down time for installing it?
It would probably be, does it take about a day? To
For you
install
to
it?
do the aprons, you have to plan a day.
Yeah.
The bridge itself, especially that you won't have to have a crane because you can back right on.
He
the
said,
trailer.
that he'll come with a trailer, but he said he was gonna bring 2 excavators. to
Yeah.
set that.
Yeah, because you bring it out, you set it down.
Yep.
It's about, if his same as Enfield, it's about an 18-inch high ramp that you'll have to
Yeah.
apron up to it. Or Route 4 in won't be a problem because you got all of that up to Route 4 anyway. It
Yeah.
drops down in.
Yeah,
And,
just the other side. So we're looking at a day anyways. We'll be ready when I know he's coming. I'll make sure we have all the material right there on site. So as soon as it's hooked, we'll just, we'll start making the apron.
Excellent,
Oh,
good.
Good work, guys. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Do we need to vote on that, Jack, to approve it, or is it?
You can do that and I'll actually read something so that everybody knows we're kind of in compliance, or you can read it, that you're in compliance with the purchasing policy.
Oh, I know it doesn't, okay. Okay, so we are able to. do that.
You have a purchasing policy that allows you to make emergency decisions, particularly under circumstances where there's only one identified vendor. Service provider.
Okay,
Okay. Mark, that's something. I got you that.
I actually have a couple of them. So one is somebody gonna clear the tree line on Gristmill Hill Road as far as being able to see coming across there, like those trees. You're coming down the hill, you're coming up to the bridge, you can't see coming out to the bridge. When the cars are coming across, you just can't see.
Are you talking about if we come off from 4? If we come up from 4, be on the right hand side?
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
that way someone
If you
coming-
clear it Back.
Yeah.
It's gonna be even more vertical if you got this bridge than
Right.
even before.
That way you can get a visual coming down the hill.
Right,
so-
we'll
right?
we'll make the necessary adjustments to make it safe and visible for people to get on, definitely.
And then what is gonna happen with South Road? Is that gonna be?
The Gulf?
Gonna be, yeah, the Gulf.
Yeah, I am gonna get to that. We're just trying to get Turnpike all set, so we don't get in the way of the paving company
we're,
Okay,
right now.
he's doing culverts on Turnpike to get, because the 12th is when the paving company's hoping to get here,
Yeah,
and we can't be backed up on not having culverts done out there.
well, the other problem I have is I have to get out on with my camper. I gotta drive my, $70,000-$80,000 camper down Ballpark Road. And part of Ballpark Road is washed out also.
Right.
So I
oh, right on the, right in
Down
the,
on the
right in the
road.
narrow there, yeah, where the
Right,
light
no,
is.
well, and actually coming down through there, the breakaway on my brake, pulled off and I dragged my brakes down through there.
Mhm.
And from what I understand, I may not be the only one that's happened to. I mean, the road is not good. As far as that goes, as far as trying to put equipment down.
Yeah, I know the last rainstorm, it's a section that's all ledge, once you go past the racetrack.
Mhm.
And you head up that narrow and then it's right before it flattens out by Alvin's house.
Yep.
Her property, that right side is,
It's leaking water.
Yeah.
Yeah, wash it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, we've addressed it 3 times already. And every time we get a heavy rain, we gotta do some more cutting,
I mean, that's the only way we can get out now.
right,
I mean, with bigger vehicles.
so we'll address that.
Well, I think the message I'm hearing is duly noted, and we will get up there. I will say on my behalf of the highway department. There's only just so many of them they're trying, and we've got this scheduled for the paving, and then we get the rain, so. Now that we know that, you brought it to our attention, give us a couple days to figure out how we can work, Bob can work some magic with schedule and. Few employees and all that, and last thing we want to do is make it so people are ruining the rigs. We're doing everything we can to not do that, so. But if you don't come here, we don't know. I mean, I drive the road some, but I'm not on the roads as much as him, so,
Okay.
but we hear you. Yeah, okay, thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, Bill.
Yeah, I'm just worried though, I mean, in the sense of, if we have to wait until September 12th is when they're paving.
That's what I'm hoping to
That
hear.
date, weather permitting, talking about then.
Well, that's when the bridge is
So-
available as well. I mean, the bridge is available. a
All
month
right,
out.
and then what happens between now and then, we're not controlling the weather, you don't, we don't. And if we get the big downtown floods again. Then you're still stuck with no way through town.
But I don't think we said we have to wait till September 12th to get up and try to. do
We're not
some
closing
repair.
the bridge.
No, I'm not talking about the bridge, I'm talking about getting the Gulf reopened. before
Well,
that.
what we're saying is that is the hard time frame when we're scheduled for paving. It's already been bounced once. And I want to keep that time frame. I don't think the guys hopefully, theoretically, aren't gonna be up there the whole time. But we need to work on that now and make sure we're done with that. So it'll be done, if it's done 2 weeks early, perfect. But we gotta get up there and work
I
on
don't think
those and
they've
get it
got a
done.
month on Turnpike doing culverts either. So, I mean, they're.
Right,
you're
So what I'm
halfway
saying is-
now, right?
yeah,
Close,
We're close to halfway.
yeah.
You know, we get some good weather out and, you know, things go quicker. I mean, but when you're digging 6 feet in the ground, you don't know what's hell's in the ground.
but I hear
Yeah.
Bill, but I don't think we're waiting until then. I think we're trying to get this done. And make sure it's done in that time frame, and then we'll move on and start plucking at the other things, but I would have to think. That we can get up before that and do something with ballpark at least to make that.
Yeah, we'll address
Passable.
ballpark.
Well, I understand the ballpark, and that's gonna take a lot less time,
Right,
but the Gulf, if we
The
get
Gulf is
some
gonna
of
take a lot
those
of.
big storms, like you get something again like Irene or something else, that's gonna take you so much more time and money to replace that. And there's no alternative. Once the downtown floods, which way do you go? All the way down to 4A and back around? If there's nothing in between.
well, there may not be. And I'll probably shoot myself in the foot, but I do it often enough. It's okay. There may not be an alternative to how much we can get done in a day either. You know, we can only do just so much, so we can only be just so many places in town. And if we pull off Turnpike Road to go up to Gulf Road, that's gonna be a couple week project up there. So that kills us a couple weeks, and then we get rain and we don't get our culverts in. And then instead of Gristmill Hill being in here telling us what we need to do or asking us, now we've got Turnpike Road coming in. So you gotta make a priority somewhere. And we already chose the paving, and my priority is to make sure that that road's ready for paving. We were hoping to pave South Road and Turnpike. And then find out as a board, for various reasons, South Road isn't there. So we all decided to focus on Turnpike, and then we started getting all the rain, and it gave us a monkey wrench. So we just gotta figure out how to work some scheduling, though, that's all. But we do hear you, I mean, I get it, but there's only just so much we can do with just a amount of guys, you know? I think is what it adds up to anyway, correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely does.
4 guys, that's what we got. So we're trying, and you know, you've been around them, they do what they can. But I do hear you, and I know that's probably getting old tonight, but I do hear you, and we'll make provisions for it. Oh, you get it back.
Anything else on that? All right. Chief Porter,
Thank you. I'm here to ask the board to accept a new highway safety grant that I applied for the fiscal year 2024. As you know, we have been operating on a highway safety grant for 23, which allows us to put extra officers out on patrol for speed enforcement, DUI enforcement, and distracted driving. I applied for this grant a couple of months ago. And I was awarded to the town a total of $16,850 from the highway safety. 16,850. Which allows me to spend $4,000 for speed enforcement, $3,000 for DUI enforcement, $3,000 for distracted driving. We also take part in a couple of campaigns, which is join the click, drive sober, get pulled over, you drive, you text. And then this year is a little bit different than last, and they have awarded us $3,450 that could be used towards speed related equipment such as radars for our cruisers if we need to purchase anything like that. So I would ask that the board accept that and enter that into the minutes as an acceptance, so I can send this back to the highway safety.
Were you able to just see what I wrote down? My question is, can we buy a speed sign with that?
So you can, I'm working on a quote. They've graciously allowed me to come back kind of after the fact. If I can give them a quote, there's a 25% match. Doesn't pay for everything, but it pays for 75%. Right now, the quote that I have seen is about $12,000 for a speed trailer.
But one of those carts?
Yeah.
Are the smaller signs?
It has to
less-
be movable to be paid for
Qualified.
by highway safety.
Understood.
The thing that you have to keep in mind is that in order for me to put that out on Route 4 or Canaan Street State Highway, I have to get permits from the state. It's a little limited,
Okay,
but it's doable. So and once I get the quote, I'm going to submit it to the Highway Safety Department. and see if they will.
Is that the only place you can use it if you get, if you use the grant
I
money?
can use it all over town.
Okay, all right.
But in order for me to put it on a state highway, I have to go through the whole
Get a
permit
permit, okay.
process.
Did you come up with any sense of how much it would be to repair the one that we have, right?
There's
I mean,
unrepairable from what I get.
Repair it. When
Yeah.
nobody can seem to get it figured out.
No. I talked to a guy
Can we
today.
call
about it.
the
He said it's shot.
Work Safe down at Bow, they sell and have those signs, just like our big yellow one, they have the speed limit signs too. I can make a call tomorrow if you want.
I'll get with you tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Try a couple.
but the one he needs would be mobile, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So isn't that big orange sign?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have those, they have somebody that are run off solar. And they're big mother stores up in Barry, Vermont.
So the other part of that is if the highway safety gives us that money to purchase that, it must record data. It doesn't record license plates or anything like that, but it records speeds, times, dates, all of that, and we have to agree to give them that data from the machine.
Does it do traffic counts as well?
Yes,
Nice.
yeah, the amount of cars, speed, it's really good.
So that's a good asset.
We borrowed Infields a couple of weeks ago. We put it up on Roberts Road.
Hmm.
In 6 days, it calculated 10,000, over 10,000 speeds. So just in 6 days.
People overspeed,
No,
Oh.
no, I think the average.
10,000 vehicles or?
10,000 entries, so it only gets coming one direction.
Yeah.
So you could probably safely double that. There's probably 20,000 just in 6 days.
Right.
On Roberts Road.
Don't put it on Pond Road, it'll break the counter.
On what?
This Pond
Oh,
Road,
you might
break
actually
the
do
counter.
that,
Yeah,
Break it on Turnpike.
it's wicked, huh?
Mm.
Yep. All right,
So I'll leave this here and it just needs to be signed off by you guys.
Okay.
thank you, supporter, chief.
Carrie Ann, you're up. Anything?
No, so we just need to sign that, we've already voted on it and stuff, or
No,
do
we
we
have
need to vote on it?
You have to vote.
We have to vote
Just
to accept
accept
it.
the funding.
So should we do a motion on that first? I would make a motion to accept the funding that Chief Porter has presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You work on getting money. So,
Absolutely, man.
Carrie Ann, you're up for software upgrade.
There it is.
I'm here to ask the board their opinion on upgrading to a different software platform. Since day one, when I got here, I've gotten multiple requests about decreasing the amount of paperwork and streamlining all the time people have to spend coming into town hall for signatures. So I looked at 3 of the most common softwares for towns our size. MTS, AccuFund, BSNA, they're all web-based. All 3 of them would allow users to have access, so the board and management could log in and digitally approve purchase orders and invoices rather than having the paper with signatures on being passed around. So all 3 of these options would get that out of the way. Depending on the different features, there's a cost involved. So I just wasn't sure. BSNA is the top of the line that comes highly recommended by our auditor, our IT contractor, and our Avatar rep, which is our property tax module. It's highly recommended. It's also the most expensive implementation cost. It has more modules that we could bring on down the road, like fixed assets, a timesheet system where people can enter their time online, accounts receivable, and it would do utility billing, which we currently have a different system for that. The only downside to BSNA is the backlog of implementations. They could only implement us in 12 to 16 months down the road. So they're popular. They have a lot of customers they're bringing on board. It's expensive and the timing will be way out there. AccuFund is a middle of the line. There's no glitches with it. Speaking with other towns do use it. It offers the same utility billing, fixed assets. There's a permitting module, grants, but there are known glitches and I've been advised away from that one. And then MTS is strictly the financial aspect of it, the general ledger, accounts payable, payroll and budget development, and it wouldn't have the permitting fixed assets, the modules of the other two.
Can you add them in or not?
It's not
Available.
available. MTS is strictly the financial portion of it.
Okay.
But they're local, they have good advice. I've used them in the past and I was able to go paperless through using them. And they could implement the general ledger and accounts payable in 2 months. Their payroll module is backlogged into mid next year, so we would
Okay.
have to continue using BMSI, which we're currently on, until we can get implemented fully on MTS.
And you
Do
said,
we get a reduced cost on BMSI if we get rid of everything except for the payroll module?
Yes, we would no longer pay for the BMSI general ledger and accounts payable, which is the bulk of the cost.
Do we pay for that monthly or do we pay annual?
It's an
So
annual,
we've already paid for it. Will we get a rebate or?
right,
we
prorated.
probably not, because it's up for renewal the first of every year, and by the time we get,
Will be at the
yeah,
beginning of the year?
we would basically use it through the end of the year.
Yep. Okay.
And then we would have to stay with BMSI for payroll, and that last year cost us $2,500, so we would have to pay that again.
Yep.
If we went with MTS. So those are the 3 options. I included all the 3 proposals in your packet. We have the information that I had, but there wasn't a clear winner. It's just what the board prefers in which way we're going in the future.
Do you have a? Do you lean towards one of them?
Just timing wise, I like MTS because BSNA, I feel like we're all bleeding time right now with all the paperwork.
Hmm.
So if we can get something in place in 2 months, that'll free up our time. We have more than enough projects for the next 3 or 4 years. And then when we're ready to make a bigger software leap, that's going to be way down the road. I don't see us using BSNA to its fullest potential for quite a while. That would be a big undertaking to get permits online, to get utility billing on the same software. Those would be other big projects that would, a lot of time and effort would have to go into it.
Okay,
The annual cost for MTS is significantly lower than the other 2 as well. I mean, the ongoing costs, which is interesting. Any reason for that? I didn't know. Or?
It's a less user-friendly system. You have to learn it and know your way around, but once you get over the learning curve, it's fine.
Yeah.
There wasn't any glitches and the customer service was great, where the other 2 systems are very, very user-friendly. Like
Got
you
it.
log in, you can just click through stuff intuitively.
Okay.
So I
I mean,
think
that's been the complaint with BMSI though, is that it's not user friendly and it's,
BMSI is
Data.
very not user-friendly.
yeah, exactly. It's-
so this is
So
a
happy
kind of
medium.
not using, yeah, I'm with you.
So MTS, all the department heads would be able to have access to their real-time budgeting. So every week when I run payroll, they can log in and pull their own updates instead of waiting for me to put together a report to email out. They can also like run their own reports, build their own reports after learning how to use it. So everyone's gonna have access to the system, where right now BMSI, it's just me. I'm only like, I'm basically the bottleneck to the information, yeah.
Right.
And then the board, you can have read-only access to the general ledger. There's more transparency to any of the 3
Any of the
systems.
3 systems.
Okay.
When you talked about being glitchy on AccuFund, what are some of the glitches there?
Nobody would tell me specifically. And
Okay.
I actually just got an email today, like from a person in another town asking what we're going with because they're leaving AccuFund.
Okay,
Gotcha.
all right.
And Carrie Ann, did you say that you had used MTS previously?
Yes, I have,
So
Okay, so that whole learning curve is not an issue for you.
correct.
Okay,
And we won't have to pay for me to be trained, and I can just turn around and train everybody in return. So
Okay.
that's the savings.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Is there a way that we could all get together and kind of give a couple training sessions to get everybody up to speed on it? And then do you understand and accept the fact that you'll kind of be their go-to when they have questions?
Yes,
All right,
She's our go-to now.
I know she is.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, I know. Just figured I'd at least ask you this time, right? Yeah. Okay, so I guess.
and Jack, I think there's a question in the chat too. Someone typed something in.
Are you looking for us to make a decision on this evening or
I don't think so. I think we were just
just
going
kind of
over
look
it.
it over and
Yeah.
we'll discuss it a bit more? I know we received your email and I appreciate the breakdown, so it's nice to see this a bit before we come in too.
And
So
Jack
thank
has
you.
found most of the money for it too, so.
So I guess probably the three of us should just kind of chat,
Yep.
right? Okay.
I'm gonna read through it.
Yeah, me too.
Yep, go ahead, thank you.
The question is the need to print out permits that much of a burden that it would offset the problems associated with moving to a web-based system for this?
And I think the answer initially was, we're not doing enough permits to warrant, at least in my view, the expense associated with a larger platform at this time. But I'm not that.
Yeah, I'm on board with strictly focusing on finance, get the general ledger more accessible and transparent. Permitting would be years down the road.
And then payroll.
Yeah,
Payroll's the next thing.
Yeah,
We're trying to find the best solution at the cheapest price that
right,
gives us a good Chevy, but
right,
something to live with.
another Corvette.
yeah, right. And then, like you say, then once we get this all, we can upgrade again. So is there a locked in for like a service contract with it?
It goes year by year.
Year by year?
And I would say to make the effort worth our while, we would want to be on it for at least 5 years.
We'd
Okay.
want to be on, yeah.
Yeah.
We would
Yeah.
want to switch, right, all right, okay,
Yeah.
because of
Okay.
the rollout fee.
Sure.
So,
Okay,
okay,
thank you, Carrie Ann.
So did you get an answer to your question about a decision? I think the answer was yes. Looking for a decision.
oh, she's gonna give us a chance to review it.
Oh.
So, yeah,
But with that said, review it as quickly as we can and make a darn decision. Is that what we're saying?
Well, it's only because we're headed into budget season, we're headed towards a fresh year.
A lot of
We're
financial.
trying to modernize the bookkeeping
Mhm.
activities and come into a better practice of
Mm.
tracking and having transparent
Yeah, I
numbers.
hear that.
all that. So, I mean, if there wasn't, you can take as much time as you want, but I'm anxious to make some progress.
So am I, Jack. We talked about it
Yeah.
a couple of times in the office.
yes.
But you're-
Yeah, I just want to clarify where the money's coming from. I know you sent me something, but I don't have it. That makes sense.
Yeah, I put together a little cheat sheet
Thank
of
you.
our
That's
latest
that.
estimates. I think we have probably $110,000 of wiggle room, and based on everything we're discussing tonight. Would help with the decision. So we were looking at like possibly increasing Jack's time here by 1 day a week. He would go to 3 days a week.
Mhm.
That would come in at about $16,000. The accounting software or the prices listed. And then the potential new hire for the highway department.
Okay.
So when we're looking at all the numbers, those were the 3 big expenses that we're looking to take out of that like cushion we have in our budget this year.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I want to just think about it a little bit, so, all right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, yeah, I think we need just to chat a bit. But yeah,
I'm on board with the change. I just want to make sure we have it, so.
me too. Yep,
That's fine.
okay. Thank you. Thank you.
And you're gonna continue talking, and we're gonna talk about Mascoma Bank.
Yeah, and part of why I wasn't like super jumping on the GL conversion is if we start changing banks, I would have a little bit of cleanup to do with our chart of accounts.
Yep.
Right now we have 14 Mascoma bank accounts. And money's all over the place, but when you look at it as a whole, we do actually have good chunks of money in every single month. So if we start consolidating all of our bank accounts and do pooled funding, which is what fund accounting actually is, then we have a big lump sum of multi-million dollars that we can put in high interest earning accounts. So we have the New Hampshire Public Deposit Investment Pool.
Yep.
We already have accounts open. We have 4 accounts with them since June 2009. We've only had like $100,000 in those accounts, not doing anything, just sitting there. So if we take our Mascoma bank accounts, consolidate them, I would want to keep 3 based on conversations with the auditor. And then we would put our lump money into the high interest savings account and just let it sit there. And as we process payroll, pay accounts payable, like every week or every month, we would transfer money in back to Muskoma that we're
Yep.
gonna need for the operating budget. And then just doing that, we have the potential to earn a lot of money of interest. Depending, like our bank accounts fluctuate because we only collect twice a year. So the interest that I calculated every month, it could be anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 of interest each month that we could earn. And that's just revenue coming in that we can put towards fund balance. But along with that, like we would have to go through the GL process. Well, meet the treasurer and I would have to work with Muskoma Bank to close everything, start pooling money.
Yep.
And I would like to update our due to and due from accounts, because then we would have to start accounting for things differently, all the different funds.
Okay.
Okay. And
So this would be the first step before getting into a new accounting system.
I think that would be the cleanest way, is to
Okay.
have the accounts cleaned up before we go into a new accounting software.
makes sense,
You have my approval to consolidate. It makes all kinds of sense to me. So
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
do we need to vote on that?
It wouldn't
So
hurt.
I actually have a question.
Mhm.
And I'll abstain from any vote, obviously, for conflict of interest, but I didn't believe that we had the authority to direct where the funds went. I thought that was on the treasurer as the elected official.
If she would have to do all the,
Say that again, Sadie. I didn't catch that.
I thought that the board did not have control of where the funds was placed. I thought that that was at the sole discretion of the treasurer.
Of where the funds are placed, what accounts they're in.
Yeah, and where they're held. Like, I would think that that would be something, a decision that Deb makes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Deb, what are your thoughts?
My understanding was it was her and I and probably Jack at this time.
Hmm.
That would get together and decide where we're gonna put it.
I think the goal would be to make sure everybody's in agreement, and understands where we want to go, why we
Right.
want to do it, and it's going to work afterwards.
So
I agree.
I'm in agreement to reduce the number of accounts and if we can earn interest at the rate of, $10,000 to $12,000 a month, it makes sense to me. So.
Yeah, we're up 5+% in that account, right? And it's over 2, it's more than 2 percentage points.
yeah, currently our Muskoma bank accounts, only 8 of them earn interest, and it's 0.05% on 6 of them. 2 of the Muskoma accounts have 2% interest rates, where the NHPDIP accounts get 5% every month.
Okay. So again, I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate you looking into it, and I would be in full agreement with switching some accounts around, but I think we need to go get everybody on the same page and make sure Deb's involved and go from there. So did that answer your question, Sadie?
yes.
Okay. So I guess where do we leave it from here? Do we vote on it and give our approval? And you guys go back and speak and figure out how to button things up and what makes
You'll
sense. So,
approve it subject to the approval and coordination with the treasurer and
Okay.
trustees and anybody else we need to work with.
so
We can report that back to you, the agreements and so forth.
so are we making a motion officially tonight?
Sure.
So I would make a motion that we consolidate the accounts.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Thank you, Sadie. That's right. Aye. 2 in favor. And I appreciate Sadie abstaining. Most of us know that Sadie works for a local lending institution, so she's gonna abstain from it. So thank you.
Marianne, I should have put you up front. You're on the hot seat tonight. Holy
Yeah.
cow, so, okay.
And Mark has a question.
FDIC protection with having larger amounts of funds and a smaller number of accounts.
That's the downside with the NHPDIP. It is not FDIC protected, but we've also been with them since 2009, and they're reputable, and other towns use it this way. And I'm not sure what we also have, like $3 million in one Muskoma bank account. So
That's not
that's
covered
already
in these.
exceeding the $250,000.
Yeah.
So I can actually speak to that a little bit. So any funds that you have in the bank are fully insured. So if they're in a sweep account, they're covered. We don't let municipals go over the FDIC limit. Funds in the pool are also insured. It's not FDIC insurance, but they are protected because any municipal funds have to be insured.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Sadie. Mark?
Welcome.
Mark,
I have a question about the first thing that she was talking about, the web-based
on the software,
system.
yeah,
So that all of the town stuff will be done near off premise, right? Because it's a web-based.
cloud-based, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Okay.
cloud-based.
Okay, so that's done off. What is the security involved in that? As far as, is the town information protected? I mean, what are the criteria for this that?
It is on our own server right now.
I would say.
Yeah.
Probably better than it is on our own server right now.
Yeah, our server hasn't been updated in so long, Mark, that I don't know how anything is protected right now, to be honest with you. And we've all found that, with,
It's being upgraded right now, but
Yeah.
we had a server that's been sitting untouched, so.
Right, but like a lot of web-based things, there's like if stuff has been stolen or whatever, there is like a insurance policy. Does this company have some insurance policy like?
I know MTS, I didn't specifically talk about it with AccuFund and BSNA, but MTS has 2 backups. So there's 3 versions being saved, like our data, and then it's backed up twice in 2 different locations. And then we pay a hosting fee for all of that.
I guess it's more not so much that, but I guess bad actors getting into their system and stealing their information. Like, different countries. Which happens every day.
Mark, we can find out, we can ask them what they have in place or
Yeah.
what insurances they have in place. So,
Yeah. yeah, or how they go about protecting them. And maybe that's something that if you're, Carrie Ann, I don't know, but if you're in contact with somebody who's using this or in contact with those folks, maybe you just run that question by them.
Okay.
We've got some folks that were concerned about it, so we can ask about it, see what other towns, municipalities do. Does that make sense?
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay,
I think in general, we can ask about end-to-end encryption and lock and key sort of transmission so that we know that the information
there you go.
between here and the cloud is impenetrable. And the layering of the backups could isolate you from ransomware and that sort of thing. The fact is, you're right, people getting hacked all the time. They try to build the best systems they can, and they're not, and none of them are impenetrable. So the only thing you can do is really apply the best point-to-point encryption and lock and key sort of stuff and redundant backups that are isolated. And but we can kind of get some answers to that.
Okay, because I mean, I understand all of that. It's just a matter of, I know some companies have like I said, if it costs us $1 million to get our information back, they have an insurance policy that covers that. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a much larger story, but the insurance coverage for ransomware and cyber theft is not as robust as it started out because the companies have experienced tremendous losses, as you well know. But that said, the movement from a technology point of view is to go towards isolated backup so that if somebody locks up one of your servers, you don't care about it because you have another way to come on back online within a very short period of time with a mirrored set of the information. So that begins to insulate you a little bit against ransomware. And allows you to have a backup source for virtually all your information. Sometimes you can lose a few hours, but in general, it's the protection, not the prevention.
Gotcha.
At some level.
Okay.
That makes sense, Jack. Yeah. All right, Marco? Okay.
ACH payments, see,
And my last bit of streamlining that I wanted to run by the board. Currently, the last couple weeks, I changed up a little bit how I've been posting our ACH payments, which include the debit card transactions. and then NHRS, our retirement money.
Mhm.
It had been entered as journal entries and the board wasn't getting oversight on the manifest each week. So I changed the process. So I'm running all our ACH payments through accounts payable. It generates a second report attached to the board's manifest every week. So you get your check manifest, the ACH manifest. So with that extra level of oversight in place, I was coming here to ask permission to start paying potentially the school payment every month. And some of our regular utilities like Liberty, our electric account, Comcast is our internet and phone account. Would it be okay to pay some of our utilities in the school by ACH payment each month? And then log it on the ACH manifest each week?
So I haven't seen the manifest for a couple weeks because I've been away, but let me take a look at it and see. Deb, do you see any issues with that or?
No, because it
No?
saves me signing a check
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
and, getting it lost in the mail,
yeah.
Right.
because that happens a lot lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would.
That's because we don't have great postal workers anymore.
I know.
Right. Yeah.
That's good.
Thanks, Steve. But yeah, no, I think it would be, Carrie Ann and I've already talked about it. And it seems like a good idea.
Because.
I just one question, Carrie Ann and Deb, is your ACH limit high enough to do that? If not, you'll just want to revisit that with Sherry at the branch in Canaan.
Okay,
Is that something that's set by the bank, Sadie?
It is, and it can be increased. It's typically set for what you need it for. So it's probably set for whatever payroll or something was. I think the school payment's probably substantial. So it can be increased. It's not an issue. I just don't want you to attempt to send one and have it not work.
Well, it's only the schools. No worries.
What does ACH stand for?
Automatic clearinghouse or something?
Okay, all right, yep. Yeah, we're all on the same page. We know what it does and how it operates. Question of the night.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to vote on that.
Yes, I don't. So either.
Okay.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Excellent.
All right, you're not off the hook yet. Nice.
No,
Now we get
now you and Bob.
joining forces. So who first?
So I just from a point of order, I think it's useful to start out this discussion in public session, because I think it's important that people kind of appreciate the staffing profile and what the needs are. Ultimately, because we do want to try to hire somebody, we'll move into non-public session in the normal fashion. But Bob and I have been and Carrie Ann have been meeting for a couple of weeks now, trying to figure out how to get him the staff that he thinks he's get him the staff that he's historically had.
Yeah.
He's had some transition with people retiring and so forth. And we've had some difficulty replacing them fundamentally because I'm not sure there's the money to replace all the people that he thought he used to have. One of the reasons for that was there was some changes made to the pay of people. Perhaps,
In the highway department about this time last year.
yeah,
Mhm.
which increased the amount of cash flow to those folks by adjusting their wages. The problem is we didn't adjust the budget to account for it. So you're burning through payroll dollars a little faster than you anticipated, which means that there's not the funds available to actually replace the people that have moved away.
Right.
Right.
So I don't think there's a universal solution for those several people that otherwise would make your highway department more complete. But I'd at least like to try to get one person in.
Yep.
We need something.
And just to be sure that we understand that it's a profoundly tight budget. We've obviously experienced.
So the other practice they weren't doing previous board was, and previous accounting was, we weren't accruing for unused time, correct?
Right, so when you had a couple of people leave, they had some accrued time and you had to pay them out real cash.
Right.
And obviously that.
That hit
cash
this year.
was
So,
Otherwise, what you were gonna pay the remaining employees.
Right.
So, obviously, it's an element of, I'll say, mature accounting, to try to track these and anticipate. These sorts of payouts so that you don't start
Well, that-
yourself on the normal payroll front.
and that,
nonetheless, it's gonna be a tight year, and as we look forward to next year's budget process, we need to be mindful that we're not working with a full crew. We haven't funded a full crew. And if Bob had longer hair, I'm quite sure he'd be pulling it out, but.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the discussion.
I mean, we've had that put, one position posted recently for, are you getting any hits on it?
Yeah, I got 3 applicants.
Okay.
Yeah, I interviewed all 3 of them.
Okay. We're talking about that tonight or,
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
we're gonna talk about that.
and no, okay,
Yeah, that's where we would.
understood. I just, like I said, I didn't know if it was even a,
The specifics, but
I knew there was a problem, but I didn't know if we had a,
Yeah,
we have a need. I mean,
So what is the solution going forward to? The funding? I mean,
Well, we're gonna have to, in the 2024 budget, we're gonna have to present the
had it in to the,
budget committee with the figures that
they should have used.
we should have
right, last year.
used, and that's gonna be higher than what are currently in the budget. And we'll probably be anticipating or budgeting the sorts of leaves and times and things that otherwise we used to pay people.
Right, we gotta forecast that out. Okay, all
So,
right then.
that said, I don't know if you've also got this abatement issue.
Yep.
And I honestly don't know whether.
I mean,
some of that-
I just saw that tonight for the first time, so I haven't really had a chance to look at it, so.
Okay.
But we'll talk about it and see what the,
um,
Matt,
And because that identifies, specific property
Right.
and so forth, so
Right.
I would imagine that might be non-public, but I'm not sure.
Mark,
So driving around Canaan during the day. You see certain. Seems like wasted time going on. Like I'll see the Ford tractor. And I saw it drive all the way from Canaan, all the way up to May Street. Which took a whole lot of time and probably not good for that equipment by the hour. Or pay a guy, why wouldn't something like that be trailered out to that location? And when they're working out on Turnpike Road, I noticed that equipment's coming back and forth between. I know back in past administrations, they would, somebody was on that road, they would see if they could leave the equipment out there for the night. So it wasn't constantly being transported back and forth or. I mean, and that could save hours. In somebody's day, transporting vehicles back and forth and different things like that.
yeah, I mean, I don't, Bob, you're here.
I just don't feel comfortable leaving that excavator out there on the side of the road
But
right now. We pull up there with a truck and trailer. We don't unhook that. We just bring it back, fuel it up. That's just my,
Okay.
never been one to feel comfortable about leaving equipment out on the side of the road.
I mean, like if you're working up on my road. I would certainly keep an eye out if it was parked in my yard, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm part owner of that.
No, and I
There's
totally
other
understand.
people-
I
there's other
totally
people in
understand.
town that would feel the same way.
My yard's been used multiple times.
Yeah,
Right. And I'm sure that you've done that in Enfield before.
We had, when I was with Enfield, we had strategic spots. You didn't just put them just anywhere. Yes, we had strategic spots. You could leave equipment here. And there were always spots that were
yeah, we.
well
yeah,
seen.
I mean, like. Sometimes.
And that's what I mean. I don't want to just leave it any old place.
Wherever we get.
But there are people in town that would keep an eye on these vehicles. It seems to
Do you want
be-
to take responsibility for it if it's near your, I mean, that's where it comes down to. So it's his responsibility to protect that equipment.
Okay,
If it's in your yard and you said if somebody breaks into it, does that become your responsibility? I mean, that's.
No, that's still the town's responsibility.
I
because
understand,
if
but
it
I'm-
goes into in the town yard, it's under the town.
Absolutely, still Bob's, but it's really is Bob, he's he's the manager of the department, and it's his prerogative where that equipment gets left, so.
Well, it's up to him that he drives the tractor all the way from town, all the way out to Enfield. And puts hours on that piece of equipment, which is already old. And that is time out of that person's day, because that tractor is not fast by any means. I mean, I don't know what he gets miles per hour, but it's not. And somebody's getting paid to drive that thing out there. Where it could be trailered on a trailer and bought out to that location. This is just some things that don't seem to make much sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be other things, but, I'm a taxpayer. It's my money, it's spent here. Along with most of the people in this room,
Mhm.
so, I would like to see it used efficiently. The best we can.
The only thing I can offer on that, in the years I was with Enfield, we had a windshield broke in the grader in the town shed yard. We never had any damage.
Yeah.
Leaving them out in long job sites and stuff.
I see you, Wes, I'll hold on. So, okay. All right, Wes,
My only question is, we've left the grader out before, we left the roller rail mower out before, we left off. What makes the difference between that and the excavator? I don't understand what would make the difference if you left the excavator on the side of the road. I mean, the state leaves excavators that are twice as much as the excavator we just bought on the side of the road. I guess I don't understand the theory of, I agree with him. You lose probably 2.5 hours a day by the time you truck the thing there, you unchain it, you unload it, you chain it back on, you put all the buckets on it. Still 2.5 hours a day out of the day that you could have been working on something. I agree with Mark 100%. And we leave the other equipment on the side of the road. I don't understand what the difference is with the excavator.
well, I wasn't differentiating with the excavator and other equipment, Wes, I was just saying that was what was
Right,
brought
I'm
up.
just
so-
saying, we left the other stuff on the side of the road. I would just mentioning that.
Yep. All right, anything else, Mark? Tom?
I know this may not be very popular, but I'd hate to see a situation where our department heads being micromanaged by them.
Agreed,
Agreed.
try to step back as much as possible, so.
Well, I meant.
No,
citizens at large.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
we expect each department head to do their job. If they don't do their job, then they're responsible to us. But I think that's. You know,
Agreed. Matt, do you want to do that non-public?
Make no difference.
All right, because I haven't had a chance to look at it. I just saw it on the paperwork tonight, so we'll do that in non-public. Anything else for tonight's meeting? Deb?
Just speaking of hiring, where are we at with the, no offense to you, Jack.
Sure.
The new administrator.
We've had a few applicants, not very good, to be quite honest. We have a potential for tomorrow that Jack is talking to tomorrow, so.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's slow going, so,
A lot more careful than what happened. before.
yes, we are.
So,
Yes, we are.
Well,
just wondering if we had the hits yet.
I would say, with what happened before with Ned, I do agree with the outcome wasn't optimal, but I'd like to give everybody a reminder of what we did. I mean, how many people were on the hiring committee and how many applications did we go through? I think there were several people on the hiring committee and we went through somewhere almost 50 applications.
Yeah.
We did our due diligence. At the end of the day, almost all of those applications weren't even qualified for anything. So the hiring committee made recommendations to us and us as a board sat down and interviewed these folks. We did some
Interviewed
checks
three,
into
yeah.
them. We looked into what they had done before. And with what we had to work with, we thought we made the right decision, right? So one thing that I know about hiring is you always think you hire in the person that is going to work out the best. But the only way you really know that is once that person gets on the job and gets going. and you start to see their work ethic and whether they were able to blow smoke past you or not. And one of the things that I was just talking with Jack about in the office today is the fact that, and I think I may have said this to you, Deb, I don't remember if it was you or Ann, but you know, one of the things that I see about having Ned here for the short time he was, is it led us to Jack being here, which is very thorough, has a lot of connections. There's more organization in that office right now than there probably has been in a decade, and things are starting to get done. So if not for Ned being here, we wouldn't have Jack here. I spoke with Jack about the applicants that he has seen thus far. And one of the things that Jack said to me that really resonates with me is that part of this process is not only to find someone who's qualified on paper, but we match that qualifications on paper with the right disposition and attitude to go along with the town of Canaan. So I'm excited about the process. I feel good about where we're at. Yes, I want to get a full-time administrator in here, but Jack knows very well that it wouldn't bother me if he stayed right here. And I know that's not an option, right? It's not an option, understandably, but the help and the thought process that's going into it is, you know, it was there last time, but it just this takes it to another level, I think. So I look forward to getting the right person in here. But there have been some come through, Deb. Yeah.
Good.
Which is good, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
I got a question. You got any updates on when they're gonna start working on the Goose Pond Dam?
That is supposed to be started to be drained. They're gonna drain that down this coming fall.
But they have not even done the public hearing yet, so I don't know. So
Right.
if the state's got knocked up, I was actually thinking about that one was.
Just wait a
Away.
while, it'll drain itself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then,
Yeah, up on, that goes from the guy living up on the hill, right? But that, all I can go on is the report that they gave us when they were in here, and they said that as they drain that down for this coming fall, they're gonna drain it all the way down. They were supposed to start putting out for bids, I believe, this fall, with work hopefully to start next spring, is my recollection.
Yeah.
So
March.
I haven't heard anything different from that. I mean, I haven't heard any news that they've been able to progress with it either. But sometimes no news is good news. And maybe they just don't feel like they need to let
So,
us know they're.
Patty, the first step they have to do is have a public hearing, so.
Yeah,
Cause when we had all that rain and things were really humming around here, it was a little nerve wracking. Knowing that that's not in that good.
yeah, I agree, Mom. And one of the things that conversations we had in our household was how enlightening that meeting was. Am I excited about the pond being drained and all of that? No, still just as bummed about it as I was before, but now I absolutely understand it's for a reason. And when we were getting all that rain, I will tell you, we were wondering if we were high enough on the knob where it wasn't gonna wash everything way on away.
I was wondering
So-
where we would go.
Yeah.
Downstream.
Scott. Quick, like maybe.
First question is why they fill the pond this spring, knowing the problem. The other problem we've got is with
That's
this
to the
summer's weather.
engineers. Yeah.
Where are you gonna release the water to when the rivers are already full?
So that might be one of the things that they're considering, right?
That happened with Grafton Pond.
Yeah.
When they were going to work on
Way
that
back.
the first year, we had all that rain.
Right.
There was no place to drain it because everything you drained it into was already full.
Correct, yeah.
I'll leave that to the engineers. But good
So maybe
question.
by October, November or something.
Like I said, public hearing first and then.
Yeah.
I'll try to get an update.
I can reach out to them. I have his number. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
There's my hand. So, you know, I'm sitting here listening to this, you know. Mark's bringing up some concerns and stuff he has that I understand. As an employee, I have a different view as I do as a taxpayer on a lot of things that happen in town. Some of you have been to some of the meetings. I make it very clear on that sometimes when I speak about things. I'm gonna hit this just on bucket. Bob, you and I have had a conversation. I've made it very clear on what side of the point I stand on this. So I agree with you don't want to micromanage a department head. But on Tom, on the other side of that, this is the only place where it's an appointed position now. That these people really have a place to voice their concern with what's going on with that department. versus if it was an elected position. So we kind of have to have a little bit of balance in that. So I just don't, I don't want to think that it's. People are coming here and have a session that they need a place to vent their concerns. They work hard for their money. They want to see it be spent as efficiently as possible. And this is one of the best places, really one of the only places that they do it. I'd rather see these people doing it here than getting on social media. And venting it out at that point.
Absolutely, I would agree.
Yeah.
I have no qualms with everybody showing up. I've actually enjoyed the bigger groups we've been getting at the meetings,
I
so.
like it.
Years went by when nobody came, we used to have them down at the library. And, there would be nobody there except for the select board, and they'd go through their motions and.
Just a
You know.
little employee view, a little taxpayer view on
Yeah.
it. too.
Yep.
It gets conflicting sometimes.
Sure.
If I could, I wasn't suggesting that people shouldn't do that,
Yeah.
Mark's got every right to come and voice his concerns, everybody has a right to come and voice their concerns, and I understand that position. I was just saying as a philosophy, I think, we need to hold department heads as a town, and the select board need to hold department heads accountable for what they're doing, but, to some degree, they're appointed in that position. We need to sort of at least give them the opportunity to make their decisions, and then, if we think they're wrong, come to the select board and.
And I may have taken how you said it.
No, I wasn't trying to shut anyone.
My thing is that I haven't said anything. About some of the stuff that I've seen, like that blue tractor. Driving all the way out to Enfield, that was quite a long time ago. But when I see continuously things, I'm gonna say something. And voice my opinion. So it's just the way I'm gonna be.
I don't have eyes every day out here either, Mark, so I appreciate you bringing it up, so, I don't know the answer to it now, but. So.
I do know that the public involvement has been a refreshing change. I went last week, I went back and started reviewing some meeting minutes for the last 3.5 or 4 years. And then what I found myself doing was reviewing attendance. It evolved into reviewing attendance because I was starting to notice. And I will tell you, 2.5 years ago, none. And now there's 20, 40, 25 online, 22 in the room, 50 people at a time. So I guess my point of that is, this is what we're here for. This is your forum to have your voice heard. We may not always agree on what we do with that. But when I was on that side of the table, and when I go back on that side of the table, this is my forum as well. So I appreciate it. But I also hope we can all remember that we have to agree to disagree sometimes too. And that doesn't mean that I don't want to hear. So, yeah.
I have a motion to go into non-public.
I would make a motion to go into non-public.
Sadie, I'll second that.
I would too.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you. Karen. Thank you.